Welcome to another episode of the Big Blue Report featuring that guy. There it is. I got that. Get the right point right way. The former Super Bowl champion, two-time Super Bowl champion, former defensive captain of the New York Football Giants, Giants legend Jonathan Casillas. My name is Randy Zellea from backsportspage.com. And with us, as always, the professor, Ryan Darlington. Guys, it's good to see you. I feel like we're sort of lying in the opening when we say new episodes every week because we haven't seen each other in about 3 weeks. And
I've been out of town. It's not your fault.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll be the first one to say, not only have we not performed over the last few weeks, the Giants haven't performed over the last few weeks either. It's a tough segue to do, but I had to figure a way to put a little bit of humor in it. But guys, I got to tell you something. The last time we spoke, all three of us together, was before the Jets game, before Tyrod Taylor went down, before Xavier McKinney went off on everybody, before we have a long list we can go on here of what's gone on since the last time we all spoke. But the first thing I think we have to really look at in the big picture of it is this is getting ugly. And it's getting ugly quick. When you start getting 15-point underdogs, 10-point underdogs against Washington, what are we doing right now?
Is that the number right now?
Yeah, it was last check. It was 10-point underdogs against the Washington Commanders.
I think we have to recognize it's not getting ugly. It's gotten ugly.
Yeah,
it's been ugly. And the only thing that, I mean, I don't even know at this point if you can hope that it doesn't get any worse because I don't know that I've seen any sign of any improvement. And in fact, every time that I see a sign of improvement, there's almost an immediate regression that happens after it, right? I mean, the defense starts playing well. They play well for 2 or 3 games, and then you give up 624 yards to Dallas last week, and people look like they're just not playing. And there's I feel like there's a whole dynamic going on the field, in the locker room. What's happening in the locker room and with the organization is showing on the field, not just in terms of their play, but in terms of the spats that are happening on the sidelines, which is never something that used to happen. So it's at this point in time, it's endemic. It is ever present. It's prevalent everywhere. And, I think at this point the season is to the point where we're just looking to get experience for the rookies. I mean, what else can you pull from this season?
Well, I think this is it's not a playoff chase anymore. Just like that's how every season is. How do we get to the playoffs so we can get to the dance? I think that picture it's long gone. For this team. Yeah. But the evaluation, game to game, practice to practice, I think that's at a paramount now. I think last year was a big overachieving year. It was a year where Daniel Jones forced the Giants to pay him because he played very well. And then he also won a playoff game. And the Giants had to pay him, whether it was the franchise tag or the contract, which they ended up figuring out. And then, of course, they gave Saquon Barkley the franchise tag. But at the end of the day, fellas, it's about performance and production. And the Giants haven't performed well besides 4 quarters of football. You got the second half of the Cardinals game, and you got the first half of the Commanders game where they scored 14 points. Tyrod Taylor was there, but they didn't score any points in the second half. And Tommy Devito, I'm all for Tommy Devito. I think it's a good opportunity for this kid to really do a once-in-a-lifetime goal and dream for him, and who knows how long it's going to last. But the offenses that were ran by Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones, they didn't score points. He just scored 17 points on the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, yes, it was garbage time. So what? So what? My thing is, let's see who the Giants are going to, I guess, invest in this year in terms of playing time, in terms of who's getting the ball, in terms of who's the targets, who's the go-tos, who's making the plays on defense. And then that's going to be your roster moving forward in 2024. This is not a year that's over, but it's a year that, possibly making it to the playoffs, the possibility of making the playoffs is basically non-existent. And they have to evaluate this roster moving forward. And I think the first spot you have to evaluate is quarterback. Daniel Jones tearing his ACL, but don't forget he was coming off of a neck injury, which was a injury that he's had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an injury-ridden quarterback probably going to pick early. That's something that I think the Giants, they not only have to consider, they have to address it, because Daniel Jones, he's like, I think he's one of the toughest guys in the league. That's why he went back out there, even though he tore his ACL, then went back out there and fell down. He didn't tear his ACL when he fell. He tore it before that, so he's a tough guy, and he's going to get back and he's going to get healthy at one point in time next year. But if you go into next year with a injured quarterback, even a quarterback that is healthy for preseason and is playing in training camp, I don't know if whatever percent of Daniel Jones is the winner that the Giants need, and the question of him being there, that is the main question that you have to answer, whether it's a yes, he's going to be available, or no, he's going to be available. That has to have two answers to that, and it could be the same answer. It could be the same answer. We're drafting a quarterback, having them compete, whatever that case is, but they have to figure that out, because you just paid this guy a lot of money, rightfully so, because it's all about timing when you get paid, and he got paid after he balled out, and he did something that nobody has done for the New York Giants in over 10 years, which is win a playoff game. So kudos to him. But the Giants, for business, they have to figure out what they're going to do with this quarterback position. I love Daniel Jones. I think he can play for the New York Giants. But do we get somebody else in here to maybe push him? And then, Daniel Jones can tutor this kid if he's still hurt. It's a lot of things that is going to go on this offseason, but I think that's going to be the number one thing when you think about the roster and any changes or anything that they have to do and anything that move they have to consider. You have to start at quarterback.
And I think they have to do that. I think they have to use a high pick on a developmental quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be somebody that can start right away, but to your point, you don't know if Daniel's going to be able to come back from that ACL starting next year, right? Usually that's a 2-year recovery, right? Saquon came back a little bit early, and kudos to him for being able to get that done. But it takes a long time to get right from one of those. Throw into the mix the idea that Tyrod is done after this season, and I don't know that it's we're in a situation that we want to re-up, even though he's a phenomenal player, even though he's a great backup. Is he the future of the backup position? Is he the future quarterback of the New York Football Giants? I don't think he is. I think you have the ability to kill two birds with one stone by thanking Tyrod and for all that he's done and wishing him well, but drafting high a quarterback that is capable in the draft, and either, to your point, JC, holding the clipboard if Daniel is healthy enough to go out there and try and prove that he can do it again in year 6, as it were, right? And if he's not able, then he's able to tutor a starting young quarterback to go along with the rest of our very young team. You know what I mean?
I gotta throw this out here, guys. I'm gonna be the I'll be the crow. I'm gonna be the crow that stands over the dead carcass at this point, and I'm gonna throw something that's totally different from what you're saying. I'll be honest with you. I've talked to a lot of Giants fans through Facebook. Ryan probably saw on my page. I put a little, give me your opinion on this whole situation. I have to go with the majority here. I think it's time. Look, everyone's like, well, he's under contract. JC, as much as I do in this business, if a team really wants to get out of someone's contract, they'll find a way to get out of someone's contract, even if they have to eat money for it.
Yeah, well, they're on the hook for 2 years anyway, so they're
on the hook for this year, and then after next season, they can just as easily say it's our option. We're choosing not to pick up. But my big problem is not only the Daniel situation and the Tyrod situation, but look, you have Andrew Thomas who's trying to go out there when he's not fully healthy, and he keeps getting more and more banged up. I would almost rather shut him down for a few more games and don't put him back out there unless he's really, really healthy at this point. Because at this point, we know what he is, and you already put a long-term investment on him. Don't put him out there if he is not ready to go. Evan Neal, look, that situation is going to eventually work itself out. He has not played well this year. He's getting a lot of criticism for it. He started lashing out at the media. I don't remember if we were on, if we were on sabbatical when that happened, but when he lashed out at the media, and he since apologized for it. And you're bringing in guys like Justin Pugh, who's sitting on the couch to try to help.
Literally from the couch.
Literally from the couch. And he's done a nice job of trying to rally this group and get them together. But look, this is what we've been saying. This is what, or at least I've been saying for the last 5-6 months. The long-term picture is to get this offensive line together. They're not ready to compete for a Super Bowl. And that's why when they had the trade deadline and Barkley was pleading to stay here, Giants were doing him a disservice and he was doing himself a disservice because Saquon should have pulled the trigger and said, you know what, if this is what you have to do it. Because by the time this team is really ready to compete for a Super Bowl, he's going to be out of his prime and not being able to contribute to this organization. That's reality. And you know what? Everyone was criticizing the Giants for not taking care of Saquon. And I think this was the reasoning why. None of us knew it was going to be this bad.
Right.
But the possibility of not being a great season was there from my eyes. And now Saquon has the opportunity to walk away from all this and you get nothing for it.
And quite frankly, I mean, if I'm Saquon, and this is the first, I can't believe these words are about to pour out of my mouth, but I think he should. I think, I almost feel like he should just sit out the rest of the season. Because if you're thinking about where are we going to go, what value does he provide to the organization and to his long-term value to a team, whether it's this team or another team, what value does he provide getting all the reps, putting all the wear on the tires, getting all of that mileage put on his body for what? For what? All he's doing is wearing out his tread. You know what I'm saying? And so his value on a losing team that everybody knows is not going to make the playoffs and is on the brink, is so destructively bad that it's on the brink of a total rebuild anyway. He's doing himself a disservice if he takes the ball and keeps running the ball against top tier defenses. I mean, we're playing the Eagles coming up soon. You know what I mean? All he's doing is setting himself up to potentially get hurt. And what's the benefit to him? I know he's a competitor. He wants to be a Giant. He wants this to work. We all want this to work. We all want it to be a better situation than it is. But the reality is the line sucks, and he's putting himself in jeopardy every game he plays.
I mean, JC, before you jump in, I'm sorry, before you jump in on that, and I know what you're going to say, Saquon's also a competitor, and he won't let himself get pulled out. That's just his nature. Sorry, go ahead, JC.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. He's a competitor, and he doesn't really have a choice. When I say he doesn't have a choice, I don't think he's built that way. I think he's built to go down with a sinking ship. And is it right? I mean, contractually, yes. He's got to perform and play to the best of his ability. Due to his contract. Is it going to help him? I don't know. But if he does have a good year in terms of like he looks strong, he looks fast, his numbers aren't going to be the same because offensively the Giants, they just really can't do nothing offensively anyway. So his numbers are not going to look great. But if he decides to tank it in or not perform, it's going to hurt, his future in this league. It's going to hurt his wallet for the future, and Saquon and the running backs, the market that was, thrown to the forefront this year and this looming market or this diving market of the running backs, it's definitely taken another hit because a couple guys that you speak about, or, Saquon Barkley and also Chubb, yes, Saquon, he played this year, but he also got hurt. He missed some games, and he's also not going to put up the numbers that he had in the past. And then Chubb, he's actually out. So the market is not doing better. So he's not going to get that payday that he always wanted next year. But I tell you, if he finishes this year and he finishes on a strong note, he can be a valuable free agent, and I don't know if the Giants want to continue with him But at the same time, if they don't, it make him valuable because it's like he was on a bad team. He didn't, nobody performed well. It's not easy to run the ball successfully for a team that don't put up numbers at all offensively. And teams understand that. So the value for the running backs may be down in general, but I think if Saquon finishes the season with strong numbers and a strong performance and relatively healthy, I think a payday for him can be, coming up. Nothing big because I don't think that's happening anyway. But his future does depend on how he finishes the season, and if he tanks it in, that's not good, and if he gets hurt, that's also not good, But if he finishes,
that's my point. Right. I mean, what value is he going to have if he hurts his knee again? What value is he going to have if that ankle keeps going south, or if he manages to do more damage to it? I mean, if the value for a running back is going to be low next year anyway, then it's almost safer to just, I don't want to say tank it. I know he doesn't want to do that. But if you're talking about dollars and cents, you're talking about business, you're talking about value to a team, to a player, he has just as much of a chance to get a decent contract from somebody else that maybe not at a competitor's, maybe not a competitive level, but at least somebody that can compete week on week. I mean, the guy's going to finish with less than 1,000 yards this season. I mean, it's playing, everybody knows he's playing for a bad team, and the only thing that he does by playing for that bad team is set himself up for potential injury. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I have to ask this question, guys. I sent you a tweet from this clown, Wesley Steinberg, and I call him a clown. I call him a clown because even though sometimes he's right with stuff, I saw this tweet and I said this to you guys. This was more of a laughing thing from my perspective. But he tweeted back on 11/13, breaking hashtag Giants head coach Brian Dable and GM Joe Shane will walk away from the team if they aren't given full autonomy in the offseason. The duo are fed up with the interference from ownership, and both men have insurances that they can always return but the Buffalo. Guys, I know it's bad right now, and, JC, you were part of a situation like this back in 2017. I can't see after one season a GM walking away and a head coach walking away from a storied franchise because of silliness. Like, look, we know what this season is now. I think there's a lot of guys who are just sort of counting the days until they're on vacation. But you've been around the facility a little bit during the weeks, the last couple of weeks. I know the days. What's the feeling like in that building? From your perspective, you're in the cafeteria with these guys sometimes. What is the general feeling? It's not like they're not trying. They're fighting for their jobs. That's the one thing people always just say. You can just always replace this back or replace this player, replace this wide receiver. You have guys who are fighting and playing for their jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the feeling like?
That's what it comes down to. And look, they're not as enthusiastic as I feel like they were when they were winning. But that's what happens when you're losing. It's hard to walk around and because it'll be fake, if you're walking around enthusiastic and happy all the time. Like most guys, they're prideful guys, and I think that's what you've been seeing spill over in the media is that guys just don't want to lose, and they're going back and forth. Offensive coordinator, head coach, defensive coordinator, one of the players and the defensive coordinator, they're going back and forth, but I'm pretty sure they're talking and they're going back and forth over the poor performance that they're putting out there, and I'm not opposed to that. I actually like that. They care. They're showing that they care and they're being enthusiastic about that. It just sucks because winning solves everything. The Giants only won 2 games this year. We're past the midpoint of the season. The Giants have made it solid that they're a bad team. Like they figured that out in the last couple of weeks, and it's hard to accept that. But at the same time, there's a realization as, man, if we don't win more games, like everybody's job's in jeopardy. That's something I always said, when we were in bad teams, like, you're in a good team, you would leave, but you're leaving on a high note. People want good players off of good teams, and then you get to a bad team. It's like people are going to be like, all right, did he perform well on this bad team? You still have to have some self-preservation, and that might be what gets you through practice, because you're not playing for the Super Bowl anymore. You're not playing for the playoffs anymore, so it's like you're possibly playing for your future. And that's not like a selfish, I want to make plays and everything's going to me. No, I got to still perform at a high level, even though as a team collectively, we're not being competitive and we're not, winning games. But you have to take that mindset as I'm still a pro. I have to perform at a very high level. If it's not for the playoffs for this year, it's for me and my sake moving forward so I can play in the league after this year, because who knows who they're going to keep, because they got to bring in more players. That's evident.
Yeah, and I think too you have to look at the big picture of last year. There was a lot of guys who played above their talent level, and then when asked about playing above their talent level this year, they're back down to where some of them are.
They're playing below their talent level. That's the thing that's bothering me. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we were supposed to have gotten better on the offensive line. I mean, we replaced, granted, he's a rookie. JMS is absolutely a rookie, but he touted as one of the better ones coming out of college, one of the top two, the best all-around center in the draft. For all intents and purposes, he was supposed to be an upgrade over Feliciano. We still have Bredesen. We still have Glowinski. We still have Neal. We still have Thomas. That was supposed to be an upgraded line, right? But they're playing worse than they played last year. And it's causing, I feel like we've said it before, and I'll say it forevermore. It begins and ends on the offensive and defensive lines. And if you cannot get that group together, everything else falls apart. It's why the receivers have disappeared. It's why Daniel Jones got happy feet. It's why it's part of the reason anyway, why he was inaccurate when he did have time. There's so much that you can kind of place at the feet of that, but it goes beyond. It goes beyond just.
I'll throw something else at you, Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Like, what changed in that defensive backfield besides Julian Love leaving?
Right.
Okay,
I mean,
you tell me that Julian Love was such a big part of that defense. Then now that he's not there, that whole part of your defense falls apart.
I mean, you're missing the maturity and the leadership, right? I mean, the guy that you've got back there that you're relying on as your leader back there is the dude that went out in the on the bye week and broke his hand 6 ways from Sunday on an ATV that he knew he wasn't supposed to be riding. You know what I mean? It just makes you question.
Same guy who. Yeah,
it
same
just
guy
makes
who
you question the maturity.
Yep.
Yeah, the maturity and the leadership and the all of that. You end up missing that sort of thing. And I mean, part of it can go back to the fact that we have such a young team. We have such a young secondary. Trey Hawkins, Cordell Flott, Tay Banks, right? Rookies, second-year players, very young guys. Pinnock, I don't even think is more than 3 or 4 years in the league. So will that group get better as it goes through and gets more experience and plays better? Cordell Flott looks better, a lot better this year than he did last year, but I think he's one of the only ones.
Okay, so real quick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, JC. Go ahead.
I was going to just comment on what he was saying. I think Flott was having a good year, but he's out.
Yeah.
Dory's out. Banks is out.
Dory wasn't having a good season anyway. Yeah, Thibodeau is all hot and cold. I'm sorry. I'm all pissed off.
So it's on top of the team not performing, I think, up to its ability, they haven't been, I think, executing, and they haven't been. I mean, that's what makes the games not competitive, because they really aren't executing, and they're not playing good situational football either. And then you add all of the injuries that happen to very crucial positions. Saquon is 2 times. Daniel Jones is on injury reserve. Tyrod Taylor is on injury reserve. Waller is on injury reserve. Your left tackle got hurt in the first game. Right tackle's been in and out of the lineup. Center got hurt. Like, these are crucial positions. And even if the Giants struggled, but they had all their pieces, I think they could have progressed and got better as the season went on. But literally every single game, somebody gets hurt at a very crucial position. Last week was the corners. You have both top corners go down without your top corner coming into the game. Right. Kayvon goes down. He's the best pass rusher. Who else caught a concussion? Jalen Hyatt. He's on like the protocol or something like that. Like, these guys have been ravished by injuries, man. And I'm not making that as an excuse, but I'm just saying it's why it wasn't none of this. It went like this, and then it just kept on going like this, because all of the things that I said, but then the injuries just ravished them this year. And they come at the worst times. You know, your starting quarterback this year, the Giants, 3 times the quarterback went down. Daniel Jones twice and Tyrod Taylor. They all got hurt in separate games, right? So you had to make a switch. Each time you had to make a switch. So that game, you have a quarterback that wasn't in the game plan for the week, which when I'm talking about the kid now, when
DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. I didn't want to say Danny DeVito. That was coming to my head. like Paul Latino calls him Danny.
Yeah.
But Tommy, he's finally getting snaps, and he doesn't look terrible. He doesn't look like he can't play football in the NFL. So I'm all for Tommy DeVito. Look, he's a Jersey guy. He's from Don Bosco. You know, he's undrafted. He's been dreaming of playing in the NFL. He made his first start against Dallas. Yeah, it wasn't bad. But I tell you what, it was closer than the first game. It was closer than the first game. 40-0, 49-17. It was a little bit closer with the undrafted rookie playing quarterback.
In garbage time, bro.
89-17 versus the Cowboys this year.
But what I'm saying is
I know what you're saying.
Whatever you can take, and I'm just putting myself in Tommy DeVito's shoes. You know, he's a guy who knows how much football he's going to play after this year. You know, but he's the starter for the New York Football Giants. And if they can, because you're not going to line up and beat teams anymore. So the Giants need to get that out of their heads. You got to scheme up teams. You got to go ahead and look for those one-on-ones where you can, you know, go ahead and pick on a guy, you know, because the Giants, man for man, especially on offense, and I attribute it mostly to attrition and the guys being on IR and guys being out and, you know, that's moving musical chairs that they've been doing along the offensive line. Because of that, they can't match up and just beat guys, you know, so you got to basically put on a coach's clinic, put your guys in great positions to win, take mostly all of the stress off of your quarterback and call elite level play calling. Like that's what it takes to be competitive in these games, because offensively they've just been ravished and you led by an undrafted free agent quarterback. So it's looking bleak. But the thing is, I'm most disappointed in, and I think y'all know where I'm going with this, is the defense. The defense the last 2 weeks, they play like that. They're not beating nobody. Not the Patriots, not the Commanders. They're not beating nobody. The Commanders can score points. They're number 1 in the league in passing. And if they don't come to play, they'll get blown out. It won't even be like we got the Commanders' number. We beat them last year. We tied with them. We beat them this year. Daniel Jones has the Commanders' numbers. He's done very well against the Commanders. I'm telling you right now, if they go out and do what they did last week or against the Raiders on defense, they're going to get blown out. Yep. They have to perform well, because that's the only, I think, competent unit on the entire team is the defense. And it's led by Dexter Lawrence. And Dexter Lawrence has to have a monster game, because if he doesn't, it's not even close. Like the games he balled out in, the Jets game, I'm talking about monster games. The Commanders game, the first Commanders game, and then also the Bills game. They only got 1 win out of that. And it's 13 points, 14 points, and 7 points allowed, and they only got 1 win. So the defense got to do that just to make sure the team don't get blown out. Yep. It don't guarantee they're going to win anything, but that at least says, all right, this team is not going to blow us out by 3 touchdowns. Yep. And that's with maximum effort from their defense, because you don't know what you're getting on offense.
And usually, by the way, you guys,
go ahead.
I was you guys listen to the Big Blue Report here, backsportspage.com. You guys, I know you usually listen to the show. We're usually breaking down the games, but I got to be honest with you. We don't want to break down the Dallas game. We ain't breaking down the Raiders game, and we ain't breaking down the Jets game, because it's all self-explanatory at this point. Ryan, before you get back to your point, I just have one question for both of you. Obviously, unlike the situation that JC was back in 2017, where McAdoo was shown the door, and so was Jerry Reese. Joe Shane and Brian Dable, this is not really on them as much at this point. JC, Ryan, your feelings on this?
What you saying is not on them?
Did he freeze?
Yeah, did he freeze? Was he supposed to play something?
No, I don't think he was going to play anything. But you know what? Hey, yeah, let's say he was saying that it's not on Joe Shane. It's not on Brian Daboll. They're not really on the hot seat, right? Do you? I guess. Do you agree with that assessment? Is that something that you feel is
Currently,
accurate?
right now in what are we, week 11? We're week 11, right?
Something
Week
like
11
that.
right now?
Yeah, week
So
11.
Right now, they not on the hot seat. They're not. I don't think so. I think they bought themselves some time. But if the Giants don't win no more games for the rest of the year, I can't do nothing. Like it's hard to defend what's going to come. Like there's heat that's going to come. You know, if you don't win another game, if you can put forth competitive effort, you know, because Mara's bro, John Mara, the owner, he's a prideful guy. You know, like he's not gonna just sit back and allow his team that he thinks is in good hands, and we all think he is too. The team is too. So all of a sudden, win 9 games, win a playoff game, and then the next year win 2 games, like that's a big drop off. So for everybody's sake, because nobody's job's safe when you're losing games, guys. You know, like our jobs are fine. Even me, you know, doing in the building, like I'm straight. But like the players, coaches, like everybody's job, if they only win 2 games this year, like if they win a couple more games, which they can possibly do, I'm not saying they're fine. Because I don't think a New York team that's not making it to the playoffs is fine. Like they're going to be some type of scrutiny, whether it's the Jets, the Giants, or the Bills. Because the Bills right now, they're trying to figure that thing out. They're
too.
Mm-hmm. So none of the teams, no matter how they finish, none of their coaches are going to be fine. Like as in, like they're not on the hot seat at all. Is their job in jeopardy of them actually getting fired? I think you can go team for team. But I think the Giants will win a couple more games, and I don't think it'll be the hot seat, but I think it's because you're in Jersey and New York. I think it comes with the territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think like last year, if the Giants would have only won 5 games, Daboll would have, we don't know. And then all of a sudden this year, they do what they did this year. He's definitely on a hot seat, right? But because they won the playoff game last year and you saw a team ascend as the season went on, I think you understand that that's a possibility. And I don't think you get rid of a guy after you saw what happened last year, no matter what happens this year. I just know if it keeps going downhill, like the media is just going to attack this team. They're going to attack this team. And then I remember with McAdoo, I felt McAdoo made that decision to bench Eli because he was listening to the media. You know, I think he was, you know, going on what the media was saying because we were poor, and then that was a poor choice. I don't think he would have got fired if he didn't make that move, you know, but I think he panicked. I think he listened to the media, and I think he panicked. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but that's kind of like my 2 cents into it. And I don't think Daboll is going to I don't think he has even the possibility to do anything like that. Your starting quarterback's out, your backup's out. You know, as of right now, and Randy, what you talked about earlier, just to answer your question, it's a collective effort. The coaches are included in this just as much as every single player. Gano, he's on IR. You can give it to him. Daniel Jones, he's on IR. He got blamed too. Everybody has blame to where they're at right now. I can't pick out one person because it's not just one person. Now you got guys like Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden. I think they've been playing very well. It's their fault too.
Bobby O's been great.
But they're in it too. I don't care how well they've been playing. They're in it too. You know, everybody, it's a collective effort to lose the way they're losing. Because there are teams that don't have wins, but they don't lose as bad as the Giants lose. It's a collective effort to lose like that. That's not one missed tackle. You know what I mean? That's not one blown play. That's a collective effort of missed, whatever, calls, plays, kicks. Everything you want to say can go wrong. It went wrong this year.
Yeah.
Everything.
100%. And it's not losses. Right? It's not just losses. These are blowouts. These are blowouts.
Non-competitive.
Embarrassments. Week on week
I'm going
on
to throw something else out there with that too. Out of the 9 games this season, scoring over 20 points one time.
Yeah. Yep. So here's the thing.
JC's face said it all.
We said this last year, and I believe it was true when we said it. I still think it holds true this year. JC, to your point before, the success that they had, Daboll and Shane, the success that they had last year bought them a year. So, quite frankly, I am not, given what I have seen over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks, I am not thinking that we can expect another win out of this team. I see no evidence of that. I mean, you're talking
Maybe the
about
Patriot game. Maybe
maybe the
that Patriot game.
Patriots, maybe, and that's the only team that we can even consider being competitive with. It's to your point before, as you said, if we put up defensively, offensively, the kind of effort that we have put up over the course of the last 2 or 3 games, we are going to get blown out by some of the worst teams in the league. Okay, so here's the thing: when it's that bad, you're absolutely right. Everybody's going to be on the hot seat, but based on the success last year, I do think Daboll and Shane are going to be okay for this coming season. I don't think that patience is going to last if we have another disappointing season next year. It can't get a whole lot worse than it was this year. Okay,
unless you draft a quarterback. If you draft a quarterback that gets you
get a little bit of time.
Right.
But here's the thing: if I'm looking into my crystal ball, I feel like the sacrificial lambs are going to be the coordinators, because one of the other elements that I have seen about this is that your players have gotten hurt, your players are not performing up to their level, and what was considered such a strong point last year, what was considered such a win for us, was that both Wink and Calf stayed with the team, right? But one of the things that you can say is that their schemes have not evolved to the point where they are doing anything with the talent that they do have, right? I didn't see much difference in the play calling when Daniel went out, when Tyrod went out, with the one exception of bringing in our third string guy and not letting him throw a ball against the Jets. Literally not letting the boy throw a ball. He is, granted, he's a third string undrafted rookie free agent, but he is in the NFL, and you're not going to let him throw a ball. So at the end of the day, I think the folks that are going to really feel the heat, because somebody has to, it's going to be Bobby Johnson. I hate to say it because I love the guy. It's going to be, I don't even know, maybe, I can't believe I'm saying this, but McGuffey seems like he's the only one that's actually having his squad play okay. But it's going to be Calf, it's going to be Wink, because they're just not doing what we need them to do from a schematic standpoint either.
And it's on their watch, and it's on their watch too, and that's the hard part too. And look, if they finish in the top 1 or 2 or 3 picks, and if they really do believe that Daniel's their guy, then that pick should be traded down to try to get as many players as you possibly can.
You still need a backup quarterback, though. Tommy DeVito's not your backup quarterback. He's not a number 2.
No, but I understand that. But you're looking at the big picture. The big picture here is, okay, if you're really committed to Daniel, a guy who you did not draft anyway, this is not you inherited him from the last regime. If you are not really believing that he's your guy and you end up with the number 1, number 2 pick, then you have to decide on whether you're going to go quarterback, or do you want to take that pick, which is a valuable pick, and call one of those teams that might need one and see what value you can get for it, including have the opportunity to get more pieces that you will need, because this team is not a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. There is a lot of pieces that need to be added to make this thing work. So you have to really ask yourself, do you want to stick with Daniel and roll the dice on this again? Or do you say, you know what, like we said, we're going to make a move. We're going to trying to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to get out of Daniel's contract, or you're going to draft somebody and let Daniel just be a lame duck quarterback for a year.
Or pull a Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, right? Aaron Rodgers held the clipboard for 5 years before he got in, and then he lit it up and has been doing so. I know you hate hearing me say it, Randy, but the guy lit it up. And so you give him an opportunity. You give a young guy that's got talent, that's got the capability, the opportunity to see the system, to learn the system, to move forward in his approach to quarterbacking, and allow him to progress, so that when Daniel is done, whether that's the end of next year or beyond, when he is ready to step up, we'll have our guy.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they cannot address it. They gotta do something. You can't keep the same three
Right.
next year. You
Yeah.
gotta get somebody else. And I love Tyrod. I think he's a really good quarterback,
Yep.
a great, fantastic backup in this league. But he might be worse than Daniel Jones when it comes to injuries. Not might, he is worse. Like he got, lung, and remember he played last year, he got knocked out. Like he's a guy that when he plays, he can't stay healthy at all. So
guy's 85 years old. I mean, you know.
If you got both of your quarterbacks are basically injury riddled, I don't want to put that prone on them, but they're injury riddled quarterbacks. How could you go ahead and say, hey guys, we're making the right choice at quarterback? If you don't I feel like you have to have insurance there. And their insurance right now is Tommy DeVito. That's their insurance.
And they had the opportunity to get Mitch Trubinsky, and they passed on it to take Tyrod because Tyrod was familiar with Dable's system.
I still agree with that move, but yeah, go ahead.
I love Tyrod as a backup. I do love him as a backup. I love him when he stepped into play. He can't stay healthy. But your insurance policy, they have to redo the insurance policy. There you go. Because I think you can still keep Daniel Jones. And think about this, guys. Let's say Daniel Jones is healthy next year and he participates in training camp. Maybe they don't play him at all during preseason. But when he starts to play next year at Dallas, or Dallas at home, versus Dallas, right? He balls. And he's showing us what we saw in 2022. I'll take that 2022 Daniel Jones. He don't got to be no better than that. I'll take that 2022 Daniel Jones. So now, if you have a rookie quarterback who you drafted, who's, if you do draft, is going to be top 10 at least, I don't want to say they're going to be picking top 3 overall. That means they're not going to win any more games probably. But they're going to be, I think right now, I think they're going to be in that top 10. And I think you do try to go get a quarterback, I believe, for your insurance policy. Because who else are you going to bring in? You're going to bring in another backup as your insurance policy? Because you got to bring in somebody that can start. Right. Not just be an insurance policy, but your insurance policy has to be able to start games. Because Daniel Jones might be hurt at the beginning of the season next year. Yep. And then also, if he's healthy, we still think about that neck. He had the neck injury. That's a recurrent injury.
Especially if the line isn't addressed appropriately. It's going to be no different next year if you don't shore that up immediately, if not sooner. You know what I mean?
Van Der Esch retired because of his neck. He's out for the year, possibly going to retire. I retired because of my neck. It's not nothing to play with. Now he had, not back-to-back injuries. It was a couple years in between. But, I'm not even worried about the ACL. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be able to run and pass and do all that.
It's the bulging disc in his neck that keeps him from using his left side. You know what I mean?
Yes, and the Giants have to insure themselves because of those reasons. And also,
can I give you a name?
Jones as well. From the knee, is he going to be ready at all? The recurrent injuries, the neck, and anything else that he has going on, will he stay healthy, right? And then also 3, is he going to perform well? With those 3 questions that you're asking, because you have to ask those questions, you need a very, very high, a good insurance policy, a premium one. And Tyrod Taylor, I love him. I really do. I think he's great. I really do. I think we're friends too. I don't think he's that insurance policy next year, though.
Right.
I don't think he's that insurance policy next year. And you're telling me, if Tommy DeVito balls, okay, we got a good backup if he balls. But he's not going to, because their offense is not doing anything anyway.
It's not good enough for anybody to ball. You could put Tom Brady back there and he couldn't ball against that line.
No, it's not going to happen. So drafting a quarterback, I believe, I don't think that puts Daniel Jones' job at jeopardy or means that they're moving on from Daniel Jones. I don't think that means that. I think they have an insurance policy to make sure Daniel Jones is ready. And if he's not ready, we have a first-round draft pick, top 5, top 10 pick that will buy us another year if we're not good. And we can evaluate this roster from 23. We can evaluate who they're putting out there in 24. And then the following year, they're going to have that year if they draft a quarterback. If they don't draft a quarterback and they perform poorly next year, I'm telling you right now, it ain't flying. It ain't flying.
Can I give you a name? I've been waiting to do this for so long. The guy that I want, I've been looking at him for the last 2 or 3 years, Michael Penix Jr.
Oh, really?
I love the kid. The leadership, the amount of ball that he's played, the cool under pressure, the arm. He's got the best long ball I've seen in a very long time. He's accurate. Oh man, I would love to see that guy play. He's a lefty, right? He's got the devil's hand, but that's okay. We can work with that. Tua's a lefty too.
And the Giants made a step though in that department. They Tyrod Taylor was the first black quarterback to ever start.
Black starter. Hey. Time to do it a little bit more, John.
You bring in one of those young guys, you draft them, right? Daniel Jones is healthy. Let them compete in camp. Don't give it to kid, because if Daniel Jones can play like the Daniel Jones that got that deal, the Giants will win games next year.
Yep.
Facts.
I think I need to make you guys smile, so I think it's trivia time.
Oh, trivia! Yay!
Hard on us, man. Give us a layup. He's not giving us a layup, Ryan.
No, he's not. He's gonna kick us in the balls today. That's all right.
Listen, we've been not doing this for 3 weeks. We need to come back big and be back strong. Real quick, JC, who's the sponsor for a trivia question?
Oh yeah.
Yo, Food Expressions. I got an address. We're at 2 Columbus Drive in Jersey City. We're gonna be there Tuesday through Saturdays. So Tuesday through Saturdays, Jersey City. Exchange Place. I know you guys are familiar with Exchange Place. We're down in Exchange Place. Food Expressions. Jerk chicken. Let's go.
Okay. And here's this week's trivia question. We keep it Washington Commander oriented. And here's today's question. Who caught Daniel Jones' first touchdown pass at MetLife Stadium during the team's Week 4 win over Washington in 2019, his rookie season? The choices are...
Wait, you said last year?
No, 2019.
Okay, because it says last year.
No, 2019, his rookie season. I apologize.
Okay.
Is it A, Wayne Gallman? Is it B, Sterling Shepard? C, Evan Ingram? Or D, Darius Slayton?
What's the first choice? Who was the first choice?
The first choice was, I'll say them again. A, Wayne Gallman. B, Sterling Shepard. C, Evan Ingram. Or D, Darius Slayton. I'll go Ryan first.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, no layups this week, boys.
No layups. And you know what? I'm going to play some psychology on you here. One would think that Slayton, Shep, those guys would be the ones. Evan Ingram, right? They're big names. You know the names. I honestly think it was Wayne Gallman because I think that's the kind of week you're wanting us to have.
Okay,
I agree with you. When you said Wayne Gallman, I was like, what did he say? And then you said it again.
Who?
No, I know Wayne. We play together. I know Wayne.
Oh yeah, nice.
Good. There.
You are both correct.
Yeah. We're right.
You're both correct. You are both correct. It is Wayne Gallman, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. Yes.
You're gonna win this week.
It's all based on trivia.
If that were true, we'd have a lot more wins, brother.
You know what happened? The last time we were on, it was before the Jet game, and I threw that name 5 Jets and five players for the Giants. That was a real tough one.
Tough one.
Yeah. So, guys, looking at the remaining schedule coming up here, you have this week. You have the Commanders. I don't have it in front of me. I do know we have the Patriots coming up. I do know we
Yep.
have the Rams coming up.
Yep.
Uh,
2 with the Eagles.
and then 2 with the Eagles. You guys were both pretty hell bent on the idea of if the Patriots game has got to be a win. You need it.
We've been saying that for a very long time, guys. We've been saying that for a long time. And what evidence do we have that they can be competitive in a professional football game?
Jeez.
Sorry to be that guy. I hate being that guy. I hate it. I love loving on my Giants. But I mean, JC, you were actually the guy that made me think about this. I was all high and pie in the sky on earlier in the season, and you were like, "What evidence do you have that you can expect that from this crew?"
Yeah.
And it's right. He's absolutely right. What evidence do we have that says to us, yes, we can be competitive in a professional football game, even against teams that are struggling?
Yeah. And guys, here's the remaining.
We may have a chance. Go ahead.
We got the Commanders this weekend, the Patriots next weekend. Then we're on the bye week, thank God. And then we have
the late bye.
Then we're home. The late bye. Then we're home for the Packers.
Yeah.
Which I look at that one as possibly you might be able to steal one. And I think that's going to get flexed out of Monday night.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. For sure.
Yeah.
But do they do that? Do they do?
Oh, they will. Sure.
I think they said they were going to start flexing. This is the year they can start flexing out of Thursday or Monday nights.
Gotcha.
So
then you have man, I'll be leaving that stadium so late. Oh my gosh.
I hate Monday night games. I hate Monday night games with a passion.
The only good thing about it is I'm leaving so late. There's no traffic at 2:00 in the morning.
2 a.m. That'll do it.
And then you have the then you're at the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you the last time the Giants beat the Saints in New Orleans. No, I can remember. I do remember. Wasn't that the 2021 season where they beat Ryan, if you remember, you and I were sitting there saying, how are we ever going to beat the Saints?
Yeah, that's right. We almost went to that game, didn't we? We were talking about
that was the game. We were talking about going out to New Orleans for that one. Then you have the first of the 2 Eagle games at Philadelphia. Then you're home for Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald and the Rams, and then you finish the season at home with your beatdown from the Eagles. So then that's.
I mean, it's going to be a beatdown from the Eagles' second and third string too. I mean, that's the hard part about it, right? Look, this has to be one game at a time. It's got to be, and so we have the Commanders this coming week. I think that's going to be a tough battle. The Patriots, there's a chance. Depending on which Packers team we get, there's a chance, right? But show me, don't tell me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Guys, before we wrap up shop here, I got to say, first off, it's great to see you guys both again and being able to do this. I really missed you. I needed this tonight more than you guys are going to ever know, being able to sit down here and record. And I got to tell you guys, I know it's been a tough season, but being able to have our therapy session talking Giants football makes you feel a little bit better. Ryan, that's not coffee in your cup, bud. I know for a fact. Being a Giants,
just coffee. It's not just coffee.
It's a little something. It's a little something that Grandma used to make. A little something for everybody.
Grandpa's cough medicine. Sure.
Yeah, a little Grandpa's little cough medicine. Guys, follow the Big Blue Report on all your social media and podcast platforms. Big things to come in. And guys, don't forget, for pre and post game coverage of the game, check out John. He does a great job with Schmelke, with Paul Patino, and oh man, I forgot his name. Lance Meadows. Yeah. Lance Meadows. He does a great job as well. Keep listening to them for pre and post. Ryan, thank you as always. JC, thank you as always. We will see you next time here on the Big Blue Report.